Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi, I'm Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. So, if you're in Australia, you would have heard about this story, I'm assuming, because it was all over the news for a couple of days. And that's how the government has now decided. Well, no, let me backpedal a little. It's not that the government has now just suddenly decided. The government has been doing this for quite a long time, and we have been allowing them to do it. The government decided quite some time ago that they were better parents than mum and dad. If you had children, the Australian government and state governments, they think they are better, they are more suited to parent your child. That's the desire. That's their desire. That's what they're telling everyone. That's and going by the way we've been legislated, that's what you'd have to assume. We're no longer allowed to discipline. Can't discipline your children. Can't raise your voice. You have to. Even these days, we're taught in our daycare system, kindy systems, that teachers, and this is factual. You're supposed to be asking consent from a baby. I'm talking like however young they're allowed to come into childcare. A baby, you're supposed to be asking consent before you change a dirty nappy. Asking consent. I mean, the baby is most likely uncomfortable. Shouldn't be sitting in a nappy that's been soiled. It's it's not good. It's unhealthy, and yet you're supposed to wait, or you're supposed to get consent, gain consent. You're supposed to make time, make time for the baby. Just lay them down and talk to them gently, and I'm about to change your nappy here. It's dirty. Is that okay? And then give space for the child, apparently, to, I don't know, go goo goo gaga. Yeah, that's all right. As long as the child's happy, then that's all right. That's what they'll do. It's a weird time, but this is what's happened in Australia. The Australian government have decided they are better parents than you or I. They know best. So they've now decided that they're going to they're going to legislate a minimum age for children in Australia to use social media. Now, I may be a little old fashioned, just a little old fashioned, but I always thought that that kind of thing, if you're a parent, well, then that's the parent's responsibility. Parents, you're supposed to be parents to your children. Okay. You're not out there trying to be the best friend, trying to be the mate. You don't have to get along. You have to train your child. Train your child. You're supposed to be guiding your child so your child can have a good, fulfilling life. So your child can grow up, be a decent human being, have ethics, have morals, train them to do good, train them to obey the law of the land, train them, if you're a Christian, which I hope you would be, train them in the ways of the Bible, biblical principles, biblical morals, godly ways. But you're supposed to discipline your child. If you don't want, how can I say it? Well, if you don't want your child to end up being a prick of an adult, a little criminal, you're supposed to discipline, train them, discipline them when they do wrong. It doesn't mean you just flog the heck out of them. Doesn't mean you just, cause injuries, bruises. No, but you are supposed to set boundaries for your children. Set boundaries. Funny enough, parents need to behave like parents. And this is the problem. For decades, literally decades, we've had successive governments tell us that they know better than parents, that they can do things better, that we're not allowed to discipline, otherwise, parents will get in trouble. And, uh, and then even at the moment here in Queensland, we have a real problem with youth crime. And that's, you don't think there's any correlation? The government doesn't seem to see that there's a correlation between high youth crime and tying parents' hands behind their back when it comes to discipline, or not encouraging the family unit, the good old mum, dad, and child. No, encouraging, making it easy for single parent houses. And that's not, I'm not attacking single parent houses. Sometimes that has to happen. The thing is, the government's made it easier for that to happen, where young males don't feel, don't see that they have a responsibility to look after their children, and young females, well, they don't see the responsibility or the necessity to have a father involved in their children's lives either, because they've been told by governments, well, it's all right, we'll look after you, we'll help you, we'll give you money. You don't need the father if you don't want the father, so that's all good. We're just going to pay you, and we'll make him pay. And they've said to fathers, well, as long as you pay money, you don't have to really take responsibility for your child. And this is where we've gone wrong as a society. So we've got governments telling us for a couple of generations now that they know better. So I'll bring up this article. This is what's happened here in Australia. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. This is a scourge. This is from the National Post. This is a scourge. It says Australia to set minimum age for children using social media. Subheading says, we know that there is mental health consequences for what many of the young people have had to deal with. Well, maybe there is. I don't doubt it. But that's because also parents aren't being involved in their children's lives. Take some flippin' responsibility, parents. Take some responsibility. The onus is on you. The burden's on you to be the parent. So the Australian government, it was last Tuesday, promised to legislate this year to enforce a minimum age for children to access social media, but it has yet to announce how ages will be verified. Ah, goodness. So several countries and US states are attempting to legislate to spare children harm from social media, including bullying. Now, this is it. This is the problem. You can't disagree with that. They come out and say, well, this is for the benefit of the child. Children are getting harmed online. So this is to protect them. So you can't stand up and protest, because who are you? That's disgusting. We're only here to help the child. There's nothing else happening, nothing else nefarious happening behind the scenes. So you can't really protest about it, can you? No, because you have to agree with what the government's saying. That's the way they frame it. That is the way they frame it. So it goes on. The Australian move comes as parents increasing call for their children to be protected online. See, they tell you that parents are increasing calls for their children to be protected, but it's the parents' responsibility to protect the child. They should be monitoring, they should be limiting, they should be pulling the access themselves. But parents don't understand how to be parents anymore. We've raised up a whole generation of parents who think that gentle parenting is actually a thing. I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you this for free. Gentle parenting is stupid. Absolutely stupid. If you practice gentle parenting, I am sorry if you find this insulting. There's nothing biblical about it. It's just, if you look into what gentle parenting is, it is pathetic and dumb, and you will not raise a disciplined, functioning adult. You're very unlikely to. Anyway, it's just my two bobs worth, eh? Anyway, so it goes on to say, we're committed to introducing legislation before the end of this year for age verification to make sure that we get young people away from this social harm, Albanese told Australian Broadcasting Corp, the ABC. This is a scourge, he said. We know that there is mental health consequences for what many of the young people have had to deal with, the bullying that can occur online, the access to material which causes social harm, and parents are wanting a response. Well, parents don't want a response from you, Elbow. Parents need to step up and be parents. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Parents need to step up and be parents. Stop relying on the government to make the rules for your children. When your children are in your home, in their bedroom, doing stuff, go in there and make sure they're doing the right thing. Limit their access yourself. You numbskull parents, what is going on here? Why is everyone suddenly relying on the government to make these rules? That's just crazy. Do it yourself. Anyway, I want to go back because this is one thing I think this is where the dangerous thing comes. And this is, like I said, they frame the narrative as though, well, we're protecting the child. So, you can't protest this. We're protecting the child. However, he says here, committed to introducing legislation before the end of this year for age verification to make sure that we get young people away from social media. Age verification. I believe, okay, this is just a way for the Australian government, another way for the Australian government to try and get more information about its citizens. At the moment, all the information that they get, from the census, from people who have licenses and bank accounts and all that stuff. But it's just another way for them to track who's who in the zoo. They'll just be scraping all that information. Well, this is our children. This is what they're up to. That's all this is. Another way for them to steal our information, to steal the information of our children. And a backdoor way to get in, to gain more information about families. I don't think this is about protecting the children at all. At all. I think parents, like I said, should be stepping up. But I think the reality is we're just seeing the government taking away more of our privacy. And, as the director of ASIO just said just the other week, well, for people who are concerned about privacy, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, no one's looking at you, so you have privacy, which is a very warped way of looking at it. And it means that in reality, you don't have privacy at all. But this is the Australian government. That's ASIO. That's what they think. This isn't about protecting the children. This is about stealing more information. It's nothing to do with protecting children. And parents, step up and do your job. That's my opinion. My name's Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.
Here comes the sun, dancing on the moon. Here comes my baby in the distance. I can smell a sweet perfume. Can you see the stars? They're dancing to a tune. I know my baby, she's waiting in the distance and singing her own tune. I'm still in love with you.